before these companies, most especially TotalEnergies itself, came into our communities, and as all other communities, most especially those ones in Uganda, these are the communities who lived in their respective communities very peacefully, and were entirely relying and depending on our land for livelihood, for income, and of course, even myself and many other young people there who were able to access education, to go to school because of our land, and our parents were effectively engaging in farming where they produced coffee, produced the beans, maize, and that they were selling in the market such that they can raise school fees for, for us to uh, for us to be able to access the education, that we are able actually to engage in this kind of conversations. And of course, living in our tradition, respecting our culture, whereby communities were caring by one another, enjoying our good and fertile lands, enjoying our good environment, until we saw these companies coming into our communities, promising all sorts of good things, talking about the jobs, talking about the infrastructure, where they told us that they are going to uplift our livelihoods, that they are going to promote infrastructure within our communities and provide good education, health center services for our communities. And until later on, we realized that actually all these were very false promises and nothing up to date that has been able to materialize or to make any significant change within our lives as the EACOP host communities or impacted communities. And it is very, very, very unfortunate that the only legacy as project affected people talk about the total energies. It is the suffering that we are going through today. The mothers who are no longer able to put food on the table for their children. And these are the people who are engaging in farming that they could provide food for their families. They could get income from their farms and they are able to send their children to school. They are able to get money to make sure that their children can access medical services. But as of today, it is a different story. And of course, all this started from the from the beginning where they messed up with the process of land acquisition and the compensation process that has left very many households and communities landless. That now they can no longer actually engage in activities, engage in the farming that was supporting their livelihoods, that was supporting their families to live in harmony. Talking about the fishing communities, these ones who are entirely depending on the Lake Albert to be able to get food, to be able to get an income to support their household needs on every other day basis. But since these companies started coming into our communities, limiting the fishing community to access the lake, I can assure you that the suffering we are facing, the challenges that we are continuing to experience as communities that are actually living with the activities of total energies, it is unbearable. And I think it is something that is very, very painful to see that actually today Total Energies is bragging and announcing into the public on how they are making a lot of profits on the expense of the community suffering, on the expense of our community dignity, on the expense of our cultural values and dignity. It is very, very absurd to see today Total is announcing such kind of profits they are making. And of course, to me, when we talk about like Total Energies and the projects or developments that they are continuing to do within our communities, within our continent, I think it is a very, very, very clear indicator that this is a neo-colonial project that has no regard for our human rights, that has no regard for our cultural values, that has no regard for our livelihood. And I think that it should be condemned by everyone, not only actually that communities we are only looking at the Total Energy itself, but we are also wondering at the investors, even financials who are continuing to put their money in companies like Total that have continued to cause terrible problems within communities. And I think uh, all we must do is to continue condemning these kind of actions and also tell those investors that please, if you could come and see what is happening in our communities, I don't think that it should be anything that Total itself should be celebrating of today. It is very, very unfortunate and shameful. I think that's what I can talk about as a project affected person, all the challenges that we are continuing to experience on each and every other day because of these projects that have continued to displace our communities, that has continued to cause all these challenges